storm weather events too. But go ahead.
Look, we got James Locklear here, and James and I have been friends for 100 years.
Pretty close.
Let me put that microphone on for you. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
You know, if you live in Robeson County or in the area, and you've not heard this man or seen this man or seen something that he's written, you've been under a rock. How long have you been doing what you've been doing, James?
Actually, I've been almost 42 years now. Started in the summer of 1984 as a high school student.
And tell everybody what your publication is and what you do.
Native Visions Magazine, published monthly. We cover news, events, issues involving the Lumbee tribe. We distribute in 4 county service area here in Cumberland, Scotland, Hoke, and Robeson counties. We have 10,000 copies that go out and about 40,000 readers. Actually, the largest privately owned native paper in America now, Gilbert.
And we've had some recent news here that is just phenomenal for the folks in the Lumbee tribe in terms of recognition. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, there you have it right here.
There you have it.
Full federal recognition. It's an effort that began in the late 19th century. Actually, we had our first petition in 1888, which went to the federal government seeking that recognition. We were actually the first recognized in 1885 by the state. And, you know, you do the math on that, that's pretty close to 140 years, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Right, but it's been a long time coming in terms of president after president and Congress after Congress and everyone. Talk about the journey.
Well, for me personally, I know coming up as a young kid is something that we always wanted as a people to be recognized as a tribe. And it was always a struggle to get that done. But and we've come really close in the past, but this time around we just had we had a lot of people out doing a lot of work. And of course, you know, this again, I want to show this off one more time. This is probably the most historic moment in the tribe's history here with President Trump signing the Recognition Act.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't understand the complexity of what's happened in terms of Lumbee recognition. And a lot of the opposition came from other Native American tribes. Talk about that. And it's got to be heartbreaking to know that.
Absolutely. And it's something I always go back to. I think instead of pulling against one another, we should all be pulling together. There aren't enough of us to be fighting one another now, Gilbert. And, you know, if we would just learn how to band together as natives and lift one another up instead of, this infighting and trying to pull one another down, there's no room for it.
Well, you know, the actual recognition, when did it take place? When did everything was signed?
It was actually signed in the Oval Office on December 18th around 6:10 p.m.
And then when that happened, everyone said, what does it mean? And some people might still be confused about who's eligible for benefits and what does it mean to the Lumbee people. And so everything is being sorted through right now. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's a process. It'll take a while. You know, the bill didn't happen overnight. It wasn't passed overnight. So the benefits and all of that, you know, everything that it entails will not happen overnight. It's going to take a few years to get these programs in order. But right now we do have a housing program that is helping hundreds of people each year. And we actually have one of the largest housing budgets in the nation now among native tribes. But we'll have more funding to come in with education benefits and health care. And of course, for me, those are the two hottest topics right there.
Well, that's for you. For most people who live in this area, what's the number one thing? Casinos.
Gaming, my brother.
Gaming. And so,
Gaming.
you know, and I don't know if that you're the actual person to talk about that in depth, but you do get a sense of that, and there's been a lot of questions about that. I mean, south of the border is right there. I'm seeing Pedro down there with a casino, and that's happening right down in Robinson County. And so, what's the vision? Have you talked to the tribal leaders who are discussing these issues?
Well, I've had conversations with some folks, not necessarily the elected officials with the tribe, but there's some local business owners and just people in general in the public.
Well, they can. It's my understanding, you know, people that can make this happen and are interested in making this happen from an economic development for that region. And Robinson County is a poor county, and this gaming opportunity could be a big deal in terms of making an economic impact for folks who live in Robinson County.
Yeah, and not only Robinson County, Gilbert, for the region as a whole. You know, you're talking about a windfall of between $600 million and $1 billion annually if this thing goes through. You know, and that's a lot of money, and it's money that can be used. There would be no regulations on it, no restrictions on it. In other words, you know, we can make additions to what we're spending in education and improving in housing and healthcare and so forth.
You know, that's the good news. The bad side of this is when you have this type of opportunity, some nefarious folks may want to get involved. And so you have to really pay attention to how it develops. And I'm sure the elders and the folks in leadership within the Lumbee tribe are looking at that and looking at what needs to be done in order for this to happen in such a way that the benefits that you've longed for somehow really gets to the people who really deserve it.
Absolutely. And we have a great group of folks back home that are working on this. A lot of work is going on behind closed doors right now that the public doesn't know about. I don't know about myself, but there's a lot of folks back there working hard to ensure that, you know, that it's in the right hands and it's handled correctly.
In terms of your reporting on the recognition, a lot of questions about who actually qualifies in terms of how what people are considered to be Lumbee and how do you register and how does that work?
Well, we have right now we have about 65,000 registered members. And in my estimation, I think the actual total number of folks that will qualify is at least twice that amount because you have fifth-generation Lumbees that are living in metropolitan areas like Baltimore, Detroit, St. Louis, and I'm pointing out those three right there because I have a lot of relatives in each town. And once you get those folks on the rolls, you're going to see a lot more folks that are who are eligible that will come out and be part of the tribe. Because right now, a lot of people don't know. I've connected with folks out in, like, for example, a young lady named Kim Locklear Wilson. She lives out in Las Vegas. Very successful lady. She owns a realty company there, and she's an HR director for a culinary school. And there's another lady, Shandon Jones, who lives in Oregon, who, you know, she's had a successful career as well. They didn't grow up here, but they have roots here. And their pride in their tribe, in other words, is pretty deep.
You know, if you don't know James, or if you do know him, you know he is a historian. And you were talking about Oberlin, Ohio, and some of the places that you've visited with different connections. I mean, we could talk for 3 hours. We got 2 minutes, Kenny. What we got? A minute or two left. So I don't want you to take you down the historic path because we have to have you come back another time and talk about some of those things.
Yes.
That the trips that you've made and the things that you've seen as a historian going across the country is just phenomenal. And it's always good to talk with you about those things. One last word here from you in terms of the recognition and what it means to the community.
Well, I think for number one, recognition just validates everything for us. You know, we knew who we were without the federal government telling us that. But you know, once we have that now, you're going to see a big change as far as the psyche of the people. In other words, their mindsets. Because you know, when you're a Native American, oftentimes you're a second-class citizen, and then being a Lumbee all of these years and not being recognized, you're a second-class Indian. So now this propels us to the forefront, and it just gives others a chance to find out who we are, because we are a successful people as a whole. We have good night. I could sit here the rest of the day and
you don't have that time.
Call out names for you, but listen, we've done really well, and we'll continue to do well.
Well, I always enjoy the powwows that I've been associated with and that I've seen. Kenny has some music on right now that is associated with one of the powwows. I think music that you've used for making a commercial here.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, you're listening to News Talk 64. James Locklear, always a pleasure to be in your presence, and I look forward to having you back on the air again. And as things develop for the Lumbee tribe, make sure you get some of the elders and folks in front of the cameras.
Oh,
you
yes.
know, we'd love to talk to folks and see how this all develops.
Absolutely.
All right. You're listening to News Talk 640 with WFNC. We've got Fayetteville's most dependable forecast with CBS 17 meteorologist Matthew Huddleston.
A CBS 17 weather alert day is in effect for the possibility of severe storms late this morning and during the afternoon hours. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a high in the upper 70s. Storms come to an end early by this evening, with skies clearing out overnight as cold air comes rushing in. A low by tomorrow morning just in the lower 30s, and then a lot of sunshine but chilly for St. Patrick's Day, a high in the lower 50s. That's your Fayetteville forecast. I'm CBS 17 meteorologist Matthew Huddleston.
Matthew, you're a great guy. 68 degrees across the board. Give Matthew a raise. But let's watch out for the severe weather today. You're listening to News Talk 6.